Hello, folks. Welcome back. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania, and it appears that after a bunch of nonsense, perhaps some sanity is returning to the room, and that perhaps, maybe, just maybe, the African National Congress is beginning to read the room. I could be wrong, but good developments today and last night. Business Tech reports that President Cyril Ramaphosa will intervene in the African National Congress's ongoing push in Gauteng to change the name of Sandton Drive to Leila Drive. Presidential spokesman Vincent Magwenya notified the media of the intervention on Thursday, the 20th of March, 2025, after alluding to it the previous evening, saying that the national government will step in and engage with the city of Johannesburg through the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. So the national government is going to use the foreign ministry to talk to the city government. Here's an idea. How about the ANC leadership just pull aside the ANC leadership, national to province, smack some heads, and get some results? Just saying.
As it stands, government has a historical mandate to rename the streets in South Africa to reflect and set apart the new dispensation from the old one.
I'm sorry, come again? Government has a mandate to rename streets to reflect the new dispensation from the old one? For places that never existed? How exactly did you come about with that hogwash? You want to rename Table Mountain in a Khoi language? Okay, that's appropriate. You want to rename the Vaal River in Tswana or Sotho languages? Okay. How about renaming the Great Fish River to a Xhosa word? Okay. But the prior dispensation built those towns and those streets, and none of them existed before those people arrived. While it's perfectly acceptable to rename offensive town and place names, and arguably reasonable to rename places honoring apartheid governmental officials, it's a clear attempt at cultural oppression to rename places that never existed or fallen heroes of the colonial struggles like Voortrekker leaders and those of the Boer republics.
The renaming of streets remains one of our democratic society's redress of the past injustices of colonialism and apartheid.
The renaming of streets remains one of our democratic society's redress of the past injustices of colonialism and apartheid. No, it doesn't. These places never existed. You want to name streets? Pave a few streets. You want to rename towns? Found a town, build a town, and maintain it. Don't steal the names of cities and towns that were built by other people who established them when there was nothing there. That's just cultural genocide. Stop the nonsense.
However, we recognize the diplomatic sensitivities around the renaming of Sandton Drive, particularly with the United States of America. It is for this reason that national government, through the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, is in talks with the city of Johannesburg. The purpose of these talks is to agree a process that will allow the national executive to manage the diplomatic tensions with the United States without further inflaming the situation.
But now you recognize the intentional disrespect the African National Congress in Gauteng has displayed towards South Africa's most generous benefactor by renaming Sandton Drive after a non-South African terrorist who was a dangerous criminal, not a liberation fighter. Folks, it's about 6 years late for these fellas. Now notice here how morose he appears. It's as if he has to force the words out of his mouth. Whatever the case, at least the ANC, much as it may pain them, has finally begun to notice that they have been pouring petrol on a lit fire from inside the building known as South Africa. Suicidal conduct. Finally, someone has awoken. It's a shame that South Africa as a nation has to eat crow in this manner when it is arrogant politicians who have put the country in this untenable position that they found in picking a fight with Washington, D.C. For those unaware, Leila is a controversial former Palestinian militant and member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. She's actually a terrorist, which Business Tech couldn't bring themselves to say. She gained prominence after her role in the TWA Flight 840 hijacking in 1969 and one of the 4 simultaneous Dawson's Field hijackings the following year. She was imprisoned for the hijackings, but was released in a prison exchange for civilian hostages kidnapped by other Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine members, and has been living as a free person for decades, despite her terrorism and the horror she inflicted on innocent people. To name Sandton Drive after a non-South African to intentionally insult the United States is an own goal of epic proportions. That it has taken 6 years and the ascension of Donald Trump to the White House for the ANC to recognize their arrogance, their disrespect, and their stupidity is sad. But it speaks volumes about who the African National Congress are. They're buddy-buddy with terrorists, whom they call liberation fighters, that are not liberation fighters. And they disrespect their friends and benefactors. The chickens have come home to roost. And it's about time that some humility and some honesty was displayed here. Now, this is an instance of the United States involved in sovereign affairs of South Africa, because if you change your sovereign affairs, it's going to cost you your friendship with the U.S. Think about it. Friends and family only. What say you, South Africa? Cheers.